Well, joining me now to assess the situation on the ground is retired Air Vice Marshal Sean Bell, an advisor at Universal Defence and Security Solutions. And Sean, just referring back to Liz Truss's speech that she gave last night, she talked about pushing Russia out of the whole of Ukraine. How realistic is that? Because, of course, that includes Crimea.
Yeah, there's an important speech, I think, and she's playing to a number of different audiences on behalf of the British government. Obviously, the international community trying to galvanise support, but also President Zelensky, a very key issue of support. I think the ambition of ejecting Russia out of Ukraine completely is not entirely realistic, not least which in the Donbass, the Russians have been in that region for the last 10 years. On the eastern side of it, about 30% are Russian, native Russian-speaking, and it would be quite difficult, I think. There's quite a lot of Russian sympathisers in that part of the country. And down the Crimea, the key issue here is the port of Sevastopol, because for generations, hundreds of years, that has been strategically important for Russia, and it's very hard to see they'll give that up without a fight. So I'm not entirely sure that's realistic, but there is a talk about returning to the pre-24th of February lines, and I think that's probably a more realistic aspiration. The other thing that Liz Truss was talking about was galvanising enthusiasm from the international community for providing weapons. There's an urgent need for heavy weapons, as President Zelensky said, and getting more of those weapons into country is key. The danger is it starts to distract when it starts to about tanks, and this time combat aircraft. Most of those tanks are packed full of electronic equipment, take a lot of training before they can be used effectively. And combat aircraft, it's years of training to be able to use those. So it's hard to see how those can really be operated effectively.
Meanwhile, we're hearing from Ukraine that Russia is making some gains in the east. What is going on there?
Yeah, I think when we look at the Donbass, the Russians have got a pretty long front, 300-mile front, and they've reverted to their usual tactics, which is to do lots of heavy pounding with artillery and mortars just to weaken the enemy, and then find a point of weakness and then surge through that point of weakness. The Ukrainian resistance has been incredible, and quite wisely they've ceded a bit of ground along the way, but they are inflicting quite a lot of casualties on the Russians as they go. But I think what this illustrates is there's such an urgent need for artillery because the Russians have got a massive artillery pounding the Ukrainians. The Ukrainians need to be doing the same in reverse. The Americans have committed around 100 pieces of 155mm artillery, which is brilliant. So you sort of say, well, that's all 1950s technology. Why is that going to help? The Ukrainians already got old Soviet kit. The key is if you marry that gun up with a fire control radar, you can now see where the rounds are coming from. You can target the specific location of your enemy gun, and now you can adjust your fire, because these things fire over 10 miles, and now be much more precision effect rather than just aerial denial. And it could have a really decisive effect on the battle. The challenge is it's one thing to commit to sending these things there. It's quite another getting them into theatre, into the hands of people, get the training committed, get the ammunition there, and have them actually being used in conflict. That time is critical at the moment.
And what do you make to the reports that we've heard about explosions in Moldova over the last couple of days?
Yeah, the danger is sometimes, because it's obviously well to the west of the country, the danger is it's interpreted as, are the Russians going to build a bridge from their current situation on the Baltic coast across to Moldova and Transnistria? There's about 1,500 Russian troops there. They've got lots of old equipment. And whilst, yes, it could be an ambition for the Russians to move further over, in reality, to do that, they'd have to extend their reach past Kherson, take Odessa and move in. Ukrainians have already been pushing back on Kherson. Odessa's very well fortified. It looks really unlikely that's realistic, particularly at the moment, given the Russians are massively committed in the Donbass region.